Let's freaking go!
Troy Brown ends up, being our most dependable receiver. Troy slipped behind him. I fired the ball to Troy.
We're continuing our Tom Brady Super Bowl series with his first. And honestly, this is his most underrated performance, considering where he was as a quarterback in this point of his career. And on top of that, him being on a bum ankle. This is a linebacker who is in a leverage advantage here, but still it doesn't matter because he's so far off of Troy Brown. Tom Brady starts off looking right, which moves his backer here just a little bit more over here, and look at all this open space for him to throw with. Look at the footwork. It's very compact, very quick, no wasted movement, and bang, TB right in the middle of the 8-0. Backer has no shot of stopping him, and not only do you get out of your own end zone, you get a huge explosive play and honestly flip the field position just with this one play.
Just felt I was very prepared.
And this honestly was the biggest thing that really stood out for the Patriots was their ability to use tight ends and check into play. So I'm cutting off a lot of the audibles and stuff like that. And they get the Rams in a bad position again. They have a heavy personnel to deal with these tight ends. The Patriots just had a 9-yard run. So we get play action fake right here. And guess what? You have the quick out to the fullback here, or you could go to the one-on-one to the outside. And once again, Tom Brady trusting these receivers, finding little pockets of space, bang, hits TB right in the chest. And what makes this very impressive was this Rams secondary, right? That's Hall of Famer Aeneas Williams, and opposite him was Dre freaking Bly, London Fletcher. Now we get to the first shotgun rep, and this is where the Patriots feasted time and time again in Super Bowls. Quick throws to the running backs out of the backfield, and you see that there was a rule change. Obviously, you can't hold the running backs anymore, but at this juncture you could. That slows Kev Falk down, and then Dre Bly, once again a very underrated corner, just swipes in and makes this play before the lineman could get out there. So the Patriots get stopped on 3rd and 8. They're forced to punt, and the Rams get on the scoreboard here. So now Tom down 3-0, and once again it was the shallow middle of the field. Now this time the ball gets batted down, but the Patriots saw that was the big weakness in this Rams defense. 3rd and 5, and this is a question that Rams fans will always ask themselves, is why Lovie Smith later in the game quit blitzing. So you'll see one thing that's very underrated about Tom in Super Bowl performances, and this was a big part of our Seattle Seahawks breakdown, was his offensive lines honestly weren't that great. So part of this could be on Brady. Part of this could be on the OC or the center on where you actually slid this protection, but everyone slid protection to the right except the left tackle. And, well, you have two guys running through these gaps unimpeded, and Tom always did a good job in big games avoiding disaster sacks, and he just throws a rail route right here to Kev Falk. As you can see, if he had time, he is nailing 81 right there for a first down, but they're forced to punt again. So the Patriots get the football back after a long missed field goal from Jeff Wilkins. And, man, this became a penalty affair. So they missed a deep shot that was almost picked, but there was defensive holding. And then there was offensive holding, which leads to this 3rd and 17. And this more so lends into my point that the offensive lines of the Patriots consistently got torn up by Brady. And it wasn't just the O-line, it was just the overall protection. This loop or twist stunt, if you will, gets Brady way off kilter. Obviously, he doesn't have the speed to really force, make a defensive tackle pay for losing this outside contain. And Brady just has to throw this football away. Now we get to here, and you have the Ty Law pick six thanks to Mike Vrabel getting some pressure on Kurt Warner. The reason why I want to share this clip right here is Brady started the game 3 of 3 for 30 yards. So he missed his last 3 throws. There was a near interception on a defensive holding, but they're still up 7-3 midway through the second quarter. And one thing that the Patriots kept trying to do versus this Rams defense was complete or successfully try pitch plays. So their first couple were blown up. And part of why they wanted to do pitch plays is because this Rams defensive line liked playing with 5 guys on the line of scrimmage. They showed this look quite a bit, and they also showed the propensity to lose contain with their defensive end. So you could see that this edge is wide open to run through. That's a really good block right there by the fullback. And now it's 32 versus 59 for a big gain, and you win that battle. Okay, I believe this is Smith. 21 was Redmond, and 33, of course, my favorite player on this Patriots team, Kev Falk. This is absolutely genius offensive strategy right here from the New England Patriots, okay? Man, there's so many intricacies just of this small little fullback dump-off, okay? Throughout the game, the Patriots had been showing 12 personnel and actually throwing away from the strength call. Now, this time, what looks to be potentially a pitch to the right, remember the last play was a pitch to the left, in fact, is a fullback flat route. Take a look at this switch release from the tight ends, okay? It doesn't look like much, but it could change your coverage rules really quickly. So, pre-snap, you would think that this tight end is going out and this tight end is going this way, but they switch, okay? He runs behind him and picks up this blitzer right here, okay? And it changes a few things. Obviously, it gets a cleaner release to these flats right here, and it's just really, really, really good offensive football. Another thing the Patriots had probably seen early in this game is that these corners were bailing. Remember that first Troy Brown throw, or the second Troy Brown completion, these corners were just backing off into deep quarters. So if you're going to do that, guess what? You're just going to slip this fullback where the corner was, and bang. Okay, good, easy completions to stretch these defenses. And guess what? Even though it's only a 4-ish yard gain, it's something. The Patriots pick up a first down after that fullback throw. And the reason why that's important is because he picked up the first down with a pitch to the right, then a fullback handoff. When we get to this 3rd and 8, there was 2 other run plays. And when you do that, the clock continues to run, and it shortens the game. And remember, they bled the play clock down quite a bit throughout the game. It's pretty genius coaching from Belichick. If you're playing a team that's favored or has more talent, you want to shorten this game. So the only touchdown up to this point was a pick 6. Now, this is where it gets really sexy from Lovie Smith and the Rams. So they crowd the line of scrimmage. They back out of it. And the Patriots, who could not block a twist stunt to save their lives in this Super Bowl all the way until their last Super Bowl with Tom, guess what? They still can't block it. There's just so much pressure. Offensive tackle gets turned around. You have 2 linemen on their rear ends. Brady has no chance. Absolutely no chance. And he has to eat a sack. And the good thing about eating a sack here in this spot is that it does force the Rams to blow a timeout here before the 2-minute warning. It's really good stuff. The turnovers were just so critical. So Ricky Prohl fumbled a big gain, and now the Patriots get the football back in really good territory. So Tom Brady's not playing well. This offensive line isn't playing well either. And what do? Well, you get the football to number 80. Right? He really was special in this game. And you spread them out 5 wide, no motions. And what makes this interesting is, this is, a 2-minute drill, but because you had been showing them tight formation, when you then spread them out, it is jarring. And one thing that Tom Brady consistently hurt teams with, whether it was this Rams game or you could check out our Falcons breakdown, is when you rushed 3 and dropped 8. These kind of defensive tackle dropouts just weren't really profitable ever versus Tom Brady. You get a quick throw right here to Brown, and this time you get the blocks on the screens, and they are really good. I mean, that's as good as you will see it. And Dre Bly, who had a tough tackling game, is put in a tough spot, and you see he can't make the play either. and Troy Brown is able to fall forward for all of these extra yards, and you are in comfortable field goal range. Into this play, a few advanced things are at play. So the Rams decide to take a timeout to save clock for them to get the ball back before the end of the second half. The downside of that is Brady is able to take his time, audible, and read this defense, okay? Now, if you want to read the game like a high-level quarterback, well, obviously Tom's football knowledge is way ahead of mine, but anyone could see this. Let's do some simple math here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So if you see 7 people at the line of scrimmage, guess what? There's probably quarters coverage unless there is a robber safety that just runs right in here. Now, if you're Tom and you see the safeties playing this conservatively and this defense playing this conservatively, you could do some process of elimination, all right? If this slot corner is to run with Troy Brown, guess what? There is no linebacker to this side of the field. And guess what? If there is no linebacker to this side of the field, that either means that the safety's got to run in and guard Wiggins, who is an absolutely massive, thick tight end. I mean, this guy is thicker than cold peanut butter. All right? If you know that Wiggins is here, that means that the defensive end has got to pick him up. And that also tells Tom that this is more than likely some zone blitz variation. Once again, rushing 3, dropping 8, getting very conservatively and sexy with Brady defensively is just not a winning proposition, especially if their left tackle, Matt Light, just went out of the game with an injury. So I want to be rushing 4 and just running twists. The Patriots proved that they can't block this, but once again, this is what ended up costing the Rams this game. Rushing 3, dropping 8, and guarding tight ends with defensive ends, and Tom is just going to pick you apart. That's why this Patriots dynasty went into super drive when Brady was able to get guys like Wes Welker in slot positions, and then obviously Rob Gronkowski, who would be running this route later on in his career, or RIP, that guy who had a Netflix documentary. And I understand we're spending a lot of time on a 9-yard route right here. Wiggins caught like 14 passes during the season. But once again, like I said, this dude is a chunk, right? The big double chunk chocolate cookie from Costco. We keep it here once again. The Patriots' end-of-game situations were just so big in this game. And they're in a very good situation. You know, clock is moving, and this Rams defense, man, they were just all out of sorts in the most critical junctures of this game. So we get this snap here. Honestly, don't remember this play. So what I do is I go through and watch all the plays, and I'm just drawing a blank here. All right, you get a 4-man rush, and, oh, yeah, this is a ball that Tom kind of sort of missed, and bam. This should have been a tutty. A better throw or just a better route. Once again, it comes down to your relationship between quarterback and receiver. This is really, really, really good stuff. Now, remember, Matt Light is out of the game. So, someone help me here. I don't remember who 76 is. So, you're running a pitch play, and this was the most popular concept the Patriots tried to run, right? The Rams have a very compressed defense, so you want to try and get to the edge. So you have a receiver come in to seal this defensive end. So now you have a puller here, and Troy Brown, the hero of this Super Bowl, has a very critical block to make, and it's not the hardest block to make, but guess what? He misses it, but this is a linebacker. This is London Fletcher. Obviously, London Fletcher, a great player, but there is another offensive lineman to get Fletcher to the ground. If he doesn't make this play, this is probably a huge loss. And because Fletcher can't keep his feet, this allowed Kev Falk to be more patient, press, and then bounce. And guess what? Contain was lost, and this ends up being only the second third down conversion of the half for the Patriots. So a really nice run, and you're able to get out of bounds. All right, Patriots do something risky after the Kev Falk run. They decide to blow their final timeout. So a sack here, it's not devastating because you could just get up there, spike the football. So Tom decides to run something very quick here, and it is a touchdown to old reliable David Patton here, and it is a thing of beauty, both from quarterback. So this is very, very, very intricate. You motion here, and it looks like from the jump it's a fade, but no, it is an out and up, and you could see Patton is running the out. Tom Brady has that Peyton Manning-esque kind of fake, and look at this throw. I mean, it is a thing of beauty. Corner bites on that out, and Tom knows he has to throw this football high only to where his guy could get it. Bang. I mean, you can't really do it any better than that. Easy tutty.
Brady drops back to throw. Looks, fires right. Touchdown!
Rams punt the football back to Brady, and once again, this is just play calling mastery. You bring a tight end over here to the left side. You also have two receivers here to the left side, and what do? You run to the right to the outside. Once again, this defensive line was able to get sealed, and another thing that's very interesting is they pull two linemen here to the right side. So once they do that, they have the two guys accounted for scraping over here, and this is as perfectly blocked as you could imagine. And London Fletcher, who had an up and down game, misses a tackle, and guess what? Smith is able to break it. And, man, this Patriots run game was overall effective. It wasn't so much explosive, but still really, really, really good. And the thing that made this game so unfreaking believably impressive was the sequencing. So now you got a pitch to the left, and, man, this is so unfreaking believably intricate. You have a reverse to the right, but it's not just any reverse. This is kind of ahead of its time, where you have the center acting like he is blocking here, and then he actually spins and becomes the lead blocker along with Tom Brady. And this center is Damian Woody of ESPN right now. How about that? So now you have the reverse, and look at how many Rams defenders over here to the right. You have a missed block here, so you're trusting Patton to make a defensive end to miss in the quasi-open field, and is able to get through both of those guys. And now he has two lead blockers here. And this is just really good play calling and sequencing, and more importantly, explosive running from Patton. Obviously, these Patriots receivers were phenomenal in this game. All right, so you as a defense, you have been seeing all these outside handoffs. What do you do now? Well, you run a wham play up the middle. Obviously, this Rams defense like to be very aggressive and downhill. So running these stretch and pitches, it delays your read, if you will, right? You can't just fly down like you can on an inside zone handoff, if you will. So it's a little wham play right here. Bang, bang. Look at this movement right up the middle, and you're playing smash mouth up the gut for a nice gain on first. So the Patriots try to do the same play, but to the right, and it gets stuffed, and it sets up a 3rd and 4. There are a few things about this play. The Rams get away with pass interference. This gets called some of the times, but sometimes it doesn't. It's one of those rules where you kind of like it, but you kind of don't, where the trailing left arm is holding the receiver. But Dre Bly is a Pro Bowler for a reason. He makes a really good play right there. But still, actually, I stand corrected. Dre did not have his left arm on Patton, at least from this angle. Now, this was the worst Belichick decision of the game. Now, the game's not as advanced as it is now when it comes to 4th down decision-making. So, Belichick, if he were coaching now, probably wouldn't make this decision. Vinatieri, this is fringe on his range, but obviously Bill, being a defensive coach, he likes the way his defense is playing. But at the very least, if you don't want to go for this in plus territory, you should at least try to draw them offsides with the offense, right? Because if you draw them offsides, you pick up the first down and the drive continues. And if not, you could just take a delay of game penalty. But instead, the Patriots elect to go for a very, very, very conservative punt. So, obviously, I just don't think Bill in the current day is making this decision. I think a lot of coaches are making this decision back then. But you could see it's one of the worst punts ever. It's clearly in the end zone. So as many of you know, Warner ends up throwing another pick, And the Patriots had the football in plus territory yet again. They line up at 12 personnel, and we go back to the second completion from Tom in this game. Play action fake, fullback into the flat, stop route here. Okay, this is a very easy read for Tom. Okay, if you don't like this, work the stop right here. And Brady with a good pocket makes a really good throw. I also love the play action on first down. You had been running the football a lot on first down. Patriots try a trick play with Kev Falk. It gets blown up. It was a good decision by Kev Falk just to eat it. And it sets up this 2nd and 14. And boy, oh boy, this is a really, really, really sexy play call. So you're trying to get vertical out of play action, going for the kill shot. And, well, what do you know? The tight end drag is what's open underneath. And once again, this is what made Brady an all-time great player, is he was so good at throwing the football right before the rush would get there. So remember, Light isn't playing. He's out of the game. All right, this is a lot of pressure. The left side of this line really struggled, and bang, it hits Wiggins right in the face mask, and it's almost a huge pick. 3rd and 14, love this play call. You get a direct snap. Just settle for this field goal. And who knows, you might pick up all the yards. And once again, the Patriots on all their screens are kind of fakes. They did a good job holding out these fakes. And look, could Kev Falk have done more here? Maybe so. But it gets him right back into field goal range. Now, a lot of chaos ensued after the field goal. There was a 99-yard fumble recovery for a touchdown that was called back for a Willie McGinnis questionable holding call on Marshall Faulk. But look, there were a few other lucky breaks for the Rams on that drive. Kurt Warner actually fumbled a snap and was bailed out by a false start penalty. So that could have ended the game. But still, Brady up to this point, not really all that great in this Super Bowl. It's efficient, but this is the thing about Brady in these big games. He just doesn't go out there and lose them. A lot of the Patriots' success in this game came down to Kurt Warner making absolutely, positively boneheaded mistakes. So you give Tom a lot of credit for not making those same mistakes. Now, once again, 2 tight end, fullback, 22 personnel formations. Tom starts off with fullback into the flats. And once again, this was a good play for the Patriots in this game. Okay, good, easy completion, even though it's not for a lot of yards. We get to this 3rd and 2. Weird play call in the Super Bowl with 8 minutes left to go. So the Patriots decided to keep a heavier personnel on the field. And this is Patrick Pass, a first, or should I say second-year fullback out of Georgia, man-to-man here versus a safety. And, well, Brady likes this matchup for whatever reason, and there's just not a whole lot of separation. There's also a lot of pressure, and thankfully Tom was able to get this football out before he got crushed. And it's not a good throw. Then again, if this is a receiver, if a better player is here, maybe he's making this diving grab. But still, it's good coverage, and the Patriots are forced to punt. So the bad thing about having this tighter camera angle, or just, older films, if you will, you don't get as many replays. And what happened is on this one, you can actually see that receivers are not open. Okay, fullback covered, Brown covered. So Brady takes the easy option, and it keeps the running back in bounds. It's an easy completion to keep the clock moving. So it sets up a 3rd and 8. This is very conservative, but I'm also okay with the way your defense has been playing, and the other team doesn't have any timeouts left. So running it to ensure that you stay in bounds and keep the clock moving, I like it. Maybe another one of those Troy Brown screens could have worked. But this is very safety glove offense right here from the Patriots to force Kurt Warner to beat you. Before we break down this final drive from Tom Brady, we want to shout out our partners for today's video, Fast Draft Fantasy. This video takes a lot of time, but you know what doesn't? A fast draft. Only 10 minutes? Are you kidding me? A $10 draft drafting rookies can win you up to $50K. Please use my promo code Carter for a deposit match bonus up to $50. Fast Draft Fantasy. Let's freaking go. So, man, I just can't get over how good Tom Brady was on this play. Now, once again, the angle is very zoomed in. I can't really see what happened to the receivers down the field, but holy crap, this is such elite quarterbacking. And I think context regarding the Super Bowl is very important. This was Tom's first Super Bowl. It was the longest one ago. I know I didn't say that smoothly at all, but we didn't forget how mediocre the performance was up to this point. All right, so he did a good job of not losing the game, but there was a lot of meat left on the bone after rewatching this game a few times over. But this is just an absolute ridiculous play to get this drive going. Redmond has it. This was also an interesting decision to not have Kev Falk out there, not have Antoine Smith out there, but Redmond, who's barely played. And then what do you do on the very next play? Well, Tom says, look, we're going to run a bunch of verticals, and there's a lot of pressure on my face. I'm just going to hit the check down yet again. Now, the reason why you heard earlier Troy Brown saying, hey, they just gave us the middle of the field, Lovie Smith said, look, they don't have any timeouts left. Why not force them to work the middle of the field with checkdowns? The problem with that logic is the Patriots only need a field goal. This is not a full field drive. And you also know that they have a really elite field goal kicker. So did they play this too conservatively? Probably so. So I want you to hear London Fletcher break down this play.
We had an opportunity to tackle a guy in bounds, allowed him to get out of bounds, and that created more time on the clock for them. You know, I think we missed a tackle. That was probably the biggest play of that drive.
And basically, he's right, okay? Dre Bly, up and down performance. You make this tackle right here, it's probably going into overtime. Because, look, you have to factor in not only was this, a check down, the receivers are all deep. So it would have taken minimum 5 to 10 seconds for them to run back to the line of scrimmage. So Redmond makes him miss. And then he also has to make sure he gets out of bounds here. And he's able to stick the football out, also pick up the first down. So it was a bold decision by Charlie and the staff to have Redmond out there. But, man, what a play. Now we get to the single most controversial call. And Lovie Smith would point to this as, a criticism of him was how conservative he was on this drive. Well, this isn't conservative. This is as good of a defensive call, and it's honestly Spagnuolo-ish, okay? So what is Spagnuolo known for? Slot, safety, blitzes from out of nowhere, and that's exactly what happened. So you have an outside release from this end, and you have both of these players backing out, and this was a protection slide to the right. So two players are unabated through this backside B gap, and Tom sees it, and his receivers aren't the fleetest of foot. They're all taking jams, so there's not going to be anything open. And to me, this should have been intentional grounding. As you can see, there's not a receiver within the vicinity, and this would have been ruled a sack, and the clock would have continued to move. So you also get this angle, all right? So the tackle box is where 64 is. This is where he is. And let's see if Brady gets outside the tackle box. I like to not bail out bad offense. And once again, this camera angle isn't the absolute best. So let's go back here and let's put a little marker where his right foot is. So this is where his right foot was during the play. Once again, the camera angle is moving, so I'm kind of moving it as well. And I mean, that is so close. It's 50-50 whether or not he got out of the tackle box. And if it's close like this and it's a clear throwaway, I like to rule in favor of the defense there. I'm sorry. Before we show you the legendary Troy Brown throw here, the other side to that is the Rams actually caught more lucky breaks in this game than the Patriots as a whole. So, you could point to, well, the refs are in conspiracy with the Patriots and the snow game and all that BS. I even though I think that's grounding, I don't think there's any grand conspiracy or anything like that. Okay? Now, you get Tom Brady right here making this absolutely positively ridiculous throw, and there's so many things to break down from this play.
In a cover 2 scheme, and Troy slipped behind him. I fired the ball to Troy. There's nobody on that side of the field.
So there's all kinds of woulda, coulda, shouldas, but, I cut out Belichick's analysis of this play, and it goes back to dropping a defensive lineman out of the play. I just don't quite get this, why Lovie Smith went away from running twist stunts. The Patriots really did not block them well at all. A 3-man rush is actually the last thing I want to do versus receivers like David, like Branch and Tyree, because they're so good at finding pockets of space along with Brady to where they could just get open enough, if you will. So Brady's able to step up into this pocket and throw an absolute dime right here to Brown, and he hits him so well in stride that Brown is able to run full speed out of bounds. I mean, it is such a fantastic display of quarterback and wide. We've talked about this. Once again, this is only part 3. We're going to do all of Tom Brady's 10 Super Bowls. Lovie Smith, to me, was just not conservative at all. I don't quite understand that criticism. I believed it at first, but now watching it, man, they brought exotic blitzes. This time the Patriots just picked it up. And, man, once again, they feasted on going after 91 with a somewhat decent tight end in Wiggins. He runs a whip route, jukes 91 out of his jockstrap, and Tom makes a solid throw, and you pick up some nice yards, and now you are comfortably in field goal range. So Tom's final stat line in this game wasn't all that great. As you can see, he had a ton of help. Troy Brown and really Ty Law, Lawyer Malloy, Willie McGinnis, Mike Vrabel were the real heroes on the other side of the ball, making play after play after play. 145 yards, but no INTs. And there weren't a whole lot of turnover-worthy-ish types of plays. And that's part of what makes Tom Brady so great, is in a lot of games that he played versus other legendary quarterbacks, oftentimes it was decided by him not making as many mistakes as the other quarterback on the other side of the football. And a lot of that has to do, of course, with Belichick and his defensive schemes, but there's something to be said about not losing games. And, of course, Tom missed that one big shot to Patton that really would have put the game away in the third quarter. There were a few other mishaps mixed in there as well. But as you guys saw, the play clock got bled down to like the very last second plenty of times. So that really was a good decision by Belichick and his staff to shorten the game. But Tom did what Tom did, and when you needed the big drive, he was able to get you that big game-winning drive. Now, floating in your face, part 1 and part 2 of our Super Bowl breakdowns. They are not in chronological order. So in the comment section, let me know which one you would like to see next. It is Power Hour NFL, baby. Boom!